I would like to take a moment to talk about the concept of anxiety, and anxiety in particular to media, to movies and video games and TV shows and all these different digital forms of entertainment that we like to take in. Um, as a child, I watched some scary movies, some violent movies. To name a few, What Lies Beneath, I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Cabin in the Woods, and The Passion of the Christ. And those four movies alone effed me up, like, for a very long time. Like, for some reason, I Know What You Did Last Summer, I watched that one a number of times. And, I watched other scary movies in between. And, I experimented with watching these things that really made me uncomfortable. But it didn't take me long to realize that these forms of digital entertainment affected my psyche when I wasn't watching them anymore. As in, like, I would watch a show or a movie, and, all of a sudden, everything that occurred in that show or movie became so much more possible in my reality, so much more plausible to happen to me. And although that's irrational, although, like, as a child, you don't really understand the concept of someone creating this through their mind and putting it on a screen for you, when you watch these things, they feel so real, especially when you're so innocent and new to them. And I think a lot of us probably don't grow out of that, where we watch something scary or violent and it still affects our psyche. I think that happens probably throughout our lives. As we get older, it becomes easier to laugh it off. You realize just how fake it really is, and maybe you fear it a little less, but it's still affecting your psyche. So when I was a kid, I watched these shows, and maybe in my teens I decided, you know what? This junk is just giving me anxiety. It's causing me to fear irrational things. I would look in my backyard at night and just be so frightened and terrified. What if some crazy man is out there? What if there's this monster out there? I would look at shadows in my room at night, trying to sleep and thinking, what the hell is that? Like, is that gonna attack me? Like, I think we all understand that whole going down to use the bathroom at night and running back up the stairs and just being so afraid of the dark, right? Not knowing what's hidden in the dark, even though we know probably nothing, most likely nothing. All these years that I have had anxiety about silly things like that, nothing bad has ever happened to me. And that's like something I eventually had to realize too. Like, all of my fears were irrational, and they came from a place of digital media and entertainment. And we don't realize that these photons that we take in and we experience up here and think about, that they do affect the way we think, the way we perceive our world around us when we're not watching them. And so a lot of us are watching scary shows, scary movies, and then we complain that we have anxiety, that we fear the world. Well, you're watching things that scare the crap out of you. Maybe if we stopped filling our minds with such terrifying things or such violent things, we wouldn't think so much about them for the rest of the time being. And, it's funny, we get a kick out of violence. We get a kick out of sick, twisted, scary, gut-clenching shows and movies. And I mean, I personally don't, but I do think about how the rest of society, or a lot of society, I should say, can really enjoy these kinds of things. And, that's great if you do, and go for it. But if you complain about having anxiety and, like, wishing you weren't so scared of everything and feeling like the worst is going to happen to you, perhaps it would be good to sober up from the scary and violent digital media that we entertain ourselves with, because it's just like a drug, like you take a drug and it affects you for that time being, and then you sober up and, you're back to normal. But are you? Because that whole experience has affected you, and you are not the same because of it. You are now totally different. You see the world a little differently, or you feel a little differently. It's the same with the drug of media. I mean, there's no escaping the fact that everything we experience alters our reality, alters our perspective, and changes us from the inside out. So, I don't know, I think it would be really good for us to stop and think for a second, do we really need to be putting this stuff into our minds and allowing it to rule our psyche, to affect it even subconsciously? Do we even realize what scary and violent things that we watch do to us after we watch them? Something to think about, right?